This morning, early voting begins. A breakdown of what's on your ballot.
Plus, opportunities to learn more about the candidates you'll see. We'll tell you about some upcoming forums.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to News 3 Now this morning on a Tuesday. I'm Kyrie Unley.
I'm Chris Stanford. Thanks for joining us. This weather is just a lot to keep up with.
It is. It's a lot of up and down, but you know, it's still March, so we're just trying to, I feel like we're getting to that point where we're trying to transition into some good things.
Oh, we're trying.
We're trying.
Mother Nature's going to try to transition back to winter for a minute here coming up tomorrow. So let's check in with Savannah Brito with your first one forecast. I mean, Mother Nature's throwing a lot at us over the next few days. What do we need to know?
Yeah, we have a chance of severe weather and then that transitioning over to snow in the same day. Not today. It's going to be dry and overall calm. We'll see maybe a tiny bit of sunshine later in the day and much warmer temperatures. Even this morning, we're waking up to mild temps, 41 in Madison, most of Dane County, upper 30s, lower 40s. There are some areas that are cooler than that, but also some spots that are warmer than that. Just to our east in Waukesha, 45. But then northwest, Black River Falls only at 28 this morning. It will be still pretty breezy. Winds are light right now, but those are really going to increase as we head for late afternoon, early evening. So we do still have that elevated fire weather risk at least through today. And then, yeah, that very active day tomorrow where we could be tracking both severe weather and winter weather for most areas across southern Wisconsin all day long tomorrow, and very breezy conditions. We'll time all of that out coming up.
All right, we'll talk to you then. Well, today is the first day of early voting for the April 1st election. Don't forget, you need an ID to receive an absentee ballot.
You must be registered to vote, but if you're not registered, you need to provide a proof of address and register at your absentee voting location. People in Madison can now use the city's ballot drop boxes for the April election. There are 14 drop boxes throughout Madison. Before you put your ballot in the box, make sure you've included your signature, your witness's signature, their name and address. After you drop off the ballot, 2 sworn election officials will place them in a bag with a tamper evidence seal and take it straight to the clerk's office personnel. And you can find a full list of locations for the drop boxes on the City of Madison's website. Just go to cityofmadison.com, elections and voting, vote absentee, and ballot drop off sites. All ballots have to be returned to the clerk by 8 p.m. on April 1st to count.
And in this election, you'll also have the chance to weigh in on a change to the state constitution. This change would elevate Wisconsin's photo ID requirement for voting from law to a constitutional amendment. If voters reject the amendment, the 2011 voter ID requirement will stay in place. However, it would not be in the Constitution. The GOP says the measure would bolster election security, while Democrats say ID requirements make it more difficult for some people to vote. Also on your ballot, you'll vote for 3 of the 7 seats on the Madison School Board.
Today, you can meet the candidates at the Operation Fresh Start Candidate Forum. The forum will be from 3 to 4 p.m. at Operation Fresh Start on Milwaukee Street. The forum will include Martha Saravo and Brett Wagner. Candidates for Seat 3 both vying for Laura Simpkins' position. Incumbents Ali Janae Muldrow and Nichelle Nichols will also be there. They are running uncontested for seats 4 and 5 respectively. But you can find more information about the forum at operationfreshstart.org. Then click on the events tab.
And then tomorrow you can hear from Dr. Jill Underly and Brittany Kinzer. The top 2 DPI superintendent candidates will participate in a virtual forum. It's on Zoom. It's from 7 to 8 p.m. You can find a link to register for the virtual forum on channel3000.com.
Later this week, One City Advocates is hosting an in-person forum for DPI. While both candidates were invited, only Kinzer has confirmed. Underly declined because of scheduling issues. One City says the invitation remains open if something changes. The forum will be at Christ Presbyterian Church on East Gorham Street Thursday from 6:30 to 7:45. In other local news this morning, the city of Sun Prairie and several Sun Prairie entities are being sued for children's deaths. The parents of 2 boys who died after falling into a Sun Prairie retention pond last year are suing the city, the school district, police, and fire department. The parents are suing for personal injury. Last January, their 8 and 6-year-old sons fell through the ice on a retention pond. It happened along the area near South Thompson Road. Just days later, both children passed away. And in the wake of their deaths, the city put a fence up around the pond, but it came down months later.
The city released a statement on the lawsuit saying that the statement is not possible because litigation is pending and the city is not able to provide a comment at this point. Well, today's the first day Milwaukee students are going to school in different buildings after lead concerns shut 3 schools down. Inspections revealed increased lead levels at Fernwood Montessori, La Follette, and Starnes Early Childhood Center. In a memo to parents, the district said it has not heard about any new cases of lead poisoning in students at any of these schools.
We all just want our kids to be healthy and have a good learning environment.
It is not clear if inspectors expect to find dangerous lead levels in any more buildings or if more schools could be closing. 7 more schools are set to be inspected. The Fond du Lac teenager accused of setting fire to Congressman Glenn Grothman's office will undergo a psychiatric evaluation. It comes after he pleaded not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect yesterday. 19-year-old Caden Stackowitz faces arson, attempted burglary, and criminal charges for setting fire to Grothman's office on January 19th. Prosecutors say that he admitted to setting the fire because he was frustrated about the representative's stance on a TikTok ban. A judge ordered a psych evaluation, and a status hearing is scheduled for May 12th.
To an update this morning, a federal judge is holding a hearing after the Trump administration's possible defiance of his court order. That's after the judge temporarily blocked deportations. When flights were already in progress, the judge ordered the planes to turn around, but the administration refused, leaving nearly 300 migrants in El Salvador. The administration claims the judge's verbal directions did not count and that only his written order needed to be followed. The written order was completed 45 minutes after the verbal declaration. President Trump says he believes some pardons issued by former President Joe Biden are not valid. On social media, Trump claims Biden's use of an auto pen voids the pardons. The pardons include members of the bipartisan House committee that investigated the January 6th Capitol riot. The Department of Justice has previously stated a president doesn't have to physically sign a bill and that using an auto pen is valid.
Also out of Washington, President Trump warning Iran against more actions from Yemen Houthi rebels. The country is seen as the group's main benefactor. In a post on the president's Truth Social, he promotes a new campaign of airstrikes targeting the rebels. This weekend alone, the strikes killed 53 people. The U.S. has been trying to curb Houthi capabilities for months now as the group has targeted international shipping lanes in the Red Sea. Well, with the stock market so shaky right now, one thing that is rock solid is the price of gold. It just passed an all-time high. Gold now sells for $3,000 an ounce. We talked to a local gold dealer about business. He says during the volatility on Wall Street, more investors are turning to gold.
A lot of uncertainty in the market. We just got done with a crazy 4 years with the last president. We're entering into a new crazy 4 years with a new president. He promised a bunch of stuff and he's everywhere.
He says for people looking to make a quick buck off the record highs, now is the time to do so, trading in scrap for cash. Meanwhile, for those looking to invest in gold, any time is right to buy and hold on to.
All right, 6:09. So much going on in the weather over the next few days. Let's check in with Savannah and see what we can expect. Hey there.
Yeah, guys, definitely busy. We're still tracking alert day conditions all day tomorrow. We'll talk about that transition from the storm threat over to snow and how much we could see.
Plus, our Spirit of Service Week continues as we learn about our top 5 veterans in the 608.
You're watching News 3 Now this morning. Moving forward.
A local nonprofit is working to promote Latino culture in Madison. Latinos Organizing for Understanding and Development, also known as LOUD, is holding the Wisconsin Conference of Latino Arts and Culture. The conference will feature a gallery showcasing emerging Latino artists. The 2-day event's focused on the critical role of the arts in the Latino community amidst today's challenges.
Culture is a part of who we are as Latinos, and as the speaker mentioned, it's a whole part of everything. There's not a separateness or there's not a dysfunction. It is all, it's central to who we are, and we're here to make this country better.
If you're interested, the conference is happening May 2nd and 3rd at Centro Hispano of Dane County. You can find tickets and information at channel3000.com.
New data on a measles outbreak is painting a better picture of the cause for growing concern over a resurgence of the disease. The concern of measles resurging is worldwide. After an outbreak in the U.S. and rising cases across the European region in 2024, one official with the World Health Organization calls the latest data a wake-up call, warning measles is back as vaccination rates remain low.
We should absolutely be concerned. We have been following the situation in 2024, and what we're seeing is that this is the highest number of measles cases that we've had in the last 25 years.
She says about 60% of those cases are being hospitalized and 40% of those cases are children under 5 years old, adding that measles has come back with a vengeance.
6:14, time to see what's going on in the 608 this morning. It's a special week here at News 3 Now. We are meeting the 5 finalists for our Spirit of Service campaign.
Josh Prider is here with what's happening now. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Vortex officially narrowed down the 206 nominations for veterans doing something good in the community down to 5. And now we're getting an opportunity to meet each and every one of them this week. All you have to do is log on to channel3000.com, click on that Spirit of Service tab. There you can cast your vote for one of the top 5 veterans. You have this week and next week to support your favorite vet before we name an official winner on Wednesday, April 2nd. That person will be taking home $5,000 presented by Vortex. So the rest of this contest is all on you, our News 3 Now viewers. In no particular order, here are the names of our top 5 finalists. They are Megan Nolan, Jerry Carncross, Matthias Carter, Mike Seefeld, and Michael Adams. Again, voting ends on March 30th. I invited each and every one of these veterans in for a 3-minute live interview this week as an opportunity to share their story with you. And our next half hour, I'll be speaking live with one of the top 5 veterans selected, so you'll get to hear from them directly day number 2. And we already are off to a good start. I mean, Megan's story yesterday was incredible.
Yes.
Wanting to give back to the younger generations. I think that's what's so amazing is, you know, they're taking their service from years back and they're still giving back all these years later. And that's what Spirit of Service is all about.
Yeah, so it'll be nice to hear from someone else and just how they're just making this big impact in their communities.
And I mean, this is all over the place. This is regional, right? So it's not just like even some of these small towns, like they're making such a huge impact.
Yes.
Okay, voting this week.
You
It's
got
open.
it right now, 6:45, that live interview.
Stick around. All right, thanks, Josh. Hey, Josh is always looking for inspirational stories to share with you in the 608. If you got something for him, reach out and let him know about it.
Let's check in now with Savannah, who's giving us a look at our temperatures over the next few hours here.
Yeah, Kyrian, not a bad start to our morning. We're actually right about 40 degrees and temperatures will be a lot warmer than yesterday, reaching right about 60 degrees, upper 50s, lower 60s for everyone across southern Wisconsin. Winds are going to gradually increase the later into the afternoon that we do get. So right now they're actually calm up to about 10 to 15 miles per hour, stronger winds east of Madison, but then you can really see them increase. We're looking at peak winds by late afternoon, early evening, reaching about 25 to 30 miles per hour, couple areas 35. But then we'll see winds increase even more overnight and especially into tomorrow. With that low pressure system, some areas could top out close to 45, maybe even 50 miles per hour. It'll be very windy. That's one of the reasons why we're tracking alert day conditions. The other reason, because of the storm threat and even that transitioning over to snow. So daybreak Wednesday, increasing showers and storms, I think specifically mid to late morning. And then into the early afternoon, that's when we'll really see that greatest chance for severe weather. Some of those storms, severe, strong to severe. I think our biggest threats are going to be potentially some hail, but first and foremost, the gusty wind threat. That's going to be our biggest concern across southern Wisconsin. That's for the afternoon and early evening. Winds start to increase even more, and then very windy. We have those winds that could be gusting around 50 miles per hour late in the evening and overnight hours. And that's also when we're dealing with that rapid transition from that storm and heavy rain over all to snow for everyone across southern Wisconsin. Some snowfall rates could exceed or be near 1 inch per hour. I think we'll see great travel impacts. That'll be more so northwest of Madison, but I still think across Dane County we'll be seeing some impacts here locally as well. By daybreak Thursday, snow ends, winds start to come down, but still tracking those travel impacts until I say mid to late morning, and then we'll gradually start to see improvement out there. Temperatures are going to be warm this afternoon. Like I said, upper 50s, lower 60s. Dry overnight, and then we start to see those shower chances by daybreak tomorrow. I think the heavy rain, this is 10 a.m. southwest of Madison. That'll continue increasing in coverage, and that's when we could be talking about some stronger to severe thunderstorms. The transition and where greater impacts and heavier snowfall totals, that's going to be northwest of Madison, La Crosse, Black River Falls, pretty much solely seeing snow. They're really not going to get any stronger storms up there. The chance is lower. And then everyone's starting to see that transition by the evening and then into the overnight hours. And like I said, that Wednesday evening into Thursday morning is when we will see the greatest travel concerns. After that, whatever snow we are able to squeeze out, I would say 1 to 2 inches for Madison, areas northwest more than that, areas towards Janesville less, not going to last long because we're forecasting temperatures well above freezing level Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend.
Do you think this is the last of this?
No, we're gonna see more snow into April.
I
It's
love that
Wisconsin.
confidence.
We
I love
have
that
to.
confidence.
Unless there's like a major change in our pattern, I would say this is definitely not our last snow.
All right. Well, Savannah, thank you.
You're welcome.
March Madness is back. The men's and women's brackets for this year's NCAA basketball tournament are out. The top seeds on the men's side are Auburn, Duke, Florida, and Houston.
The first round's all about those Cinderella teams, though, including 4 teams that are making their first tournament appearance in school history. Meanwhile, the SEC, what's going on there? They got 14 of their 16 teams in the tournament. Auburn's the overall #1. Some are looking at another team, though, that could make a run.
Okay, so I've been looking at momentum going into this tournament, and that stands out to me. And I look at Duke. You consider they won the ACC tournament, and without 2 of their top players being there, one of those being the presumed #1 overall pick in this year's NBA draft. I'm talking about Cooper Flagg, but the fact that you are without 2 of your top players, you're still playing to this level, shows their depth.
In the women's bracket, the #1 seeds are UCLA, South Carolina, USC, and Texas. The Bruins are at the top for the first time in program history. They knocked off South Carolina, who held the top the past 3 years. And despite a loss to Michigan, the Badger men are 3rd seed for the 24th NCAA tournament in the last 26 years of the Big Dance. The Badgers lost by 6 points to 5th-ranked Michigan. Now they head to Denver Thursday for their first round matchup against the 14th-ranked Montana Grizzlies. That game starts at 12:30 on TNT.
All right, 6:20 coming up on News 3 Now this morning. You're going to hear from political reporter Will Keneally with a reality check on the state Supreme Court race ads.
And before we head to break, here's a look at gas prices this morning. Time now 6:20. We're back at 6:24. Gwen says a spring sunrise. What a beautiful photo here.
Impressive colors.
Love it.
Yes, you really gotta love it. And you know, like spring is just 2 days away. Thursday.
I know, I can't believe it starts so soon. We've already been past meteorological spring, but yeah, spring for everyone else, you folks. It starts Thursday.
That's right.
Thanks, Gwen. Well, how about this? You know that little pocket in the front of your jeans, that 5th pocket?
The little bitty
The
one.
little one?
The little bitty one.
Yeah, well, a Kerrygold and jean maker says it's for cheese.
What?
They've got, a new collaboration here. They call them cheese pocket jeans.
How Wisconsin.
Just need to have a little beef stick next to it.
Just to tie it all together here.
I've always wondered what that pocket was for.
Some change.
Cheese.
Yeah.
No.
You got your answer.
Yeah.
No, credit to Steve Jobs, because you remember when the iPod Nano came out?
Oh,
when
yeah.
When they revealed the iPod Nano, he did the exact same thing. You know what that little pocket's for? And then he pulled out the Nano, and everybody was like, what?
Look at that.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Well, now it's for
Crazy.
cheese.
Now it's for cheese, I guess.
All right, well, we're getting into almost severe weather season, so we're going to continue those severe weather questions. Today, when was our last EF5 tornado in Wisconsin? By year. So 1975, 1989, 1996, or 1999?
Wowzer.
I have no.
That's a tough one. I'm gonna go 75. I'm gonna go A.
Okay.
I'm gonna go B.
Okay.
B.
It's
C.
1996. That was in Oakfield in Fond du Lac County. That was July 18th, 1996.
Wow.
Well, that was a great year, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, be a little partial.
When you were
96,
born.
great year.
Yeah. We have alert day conditions tomorrow for the threat of severe weather and snow. We'll time it out.
Early voting for the April election begins. We'll look into political ads from both sides of the high-stakes Supreme Court race.
Plus, what a new report says about the state of food security in Dane County.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to News 3 Now this morning. I'm Chris Stanford.
And I'm Kyrie Lee. Thanks for waking up with us this morning. We have a lot going on in the forecast, a lot of up and down, no consistency yet. And then, you know, like I was thinking by now we wouldn't be talking about snow, but
It's like you never know. And especially like around tournament time, like the state basketball tournaments, the March Madness, you never know what you're going to get. It could be 80, it could be freezing, snowstorm, severe weather. You never know. And we got a little bit of everything in the forecast. Vanna Brito's outside to break it all down for us, have an alert day. Let's start with where we're at this morning, though.
Yeah, guys, good morning. Not a bad start to our day at all. We got plenty of 30s and even a lot of 40s out there, especially across Dane County. We're at 41 currently in Madison. All those greens, the warmer temperatures, the blue, the colder temps. 28 in Black River Falls. So a little bit of a temperature gradient out there, but all of us waking up to mild weather, and we'll all see the 60s later today, upper 50s, lower 60s. Our high in Madison forecast to make it up to 61. It'll still be breezy out there, and the winds only increase from here on out, especially tomorrow. That's one of the reasons why we're tracking alert day conditions. The other reasons, yes, in the same day we have the threat of severe weather across southern Wisconsin and then accumulating snowfall. We'll time all of that out coming up.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Savannah. Well, this morning, in-person absentee voting begins for the April 1st election.
Nationally, eyes are on the Supreme Court race. Voters will determine the balance of the court, and it has big-name conservatives like Elon Musk donating to conservative justice Brad Schimmel's campaign. Donald Trump Jr. and Charlie Kirk were in Oconomowoc campaigning for Schimmel yesterday. On the other side of the ticket, George Soros and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker are giving money to Crawford through the Democratic Party.
Well, this race is slated to be one of the most expensive judicial races in history, and ads have been blanketing the airwaves and online. Political reporter Will Keneally has this reality check.
Both Liberal candidate Susan Crawford and conservative candidate Brad Schimmel are sitting judges, and we've seen attack ads challenging their sentencing records on the bench.
It was just a one-time thing. That's what Brad Schimmel said when he gave a, quote, sweet bargain to a man who sexually assaulted a 10-year-old girl.
It's terrifying that Susan Crawford would consider a 4-year sentence appropriate for raping a child.
Now, let's clarify what's going on here. Judges in Wisconsin get to consider a variety of factors when imposing a sentence. This can be the nature of the crime. So for a sexual assault case, for example, if the victim contracted an STD during the crime, that might be an aggravating factor that the judge may consider when imposing a sentence. But overall, judges are supposed to consider some restraint when imposing the sentences. Now, this comes from a 1970s Supreme Court case where the court writes, the sentence imposed in each case should call for the minimum amount of custody or confinement, which is consistent with the protection of the public, the gravity of the offense, and the rehabilitative needs of the defendant. The other thing to note here is that the state Supreme Court is not a trial court, that the justices don't deal with sentencing defendants. Now, UW Law professor John Gross tells us that the state Supreme Court may review some sentences that lower courts decide, but they don't impose new sentences themselves. In fact, we spoke with both candidates running for the court, asking them what they thought the role of the court is here in Wisconsin.
So the Wisconsin Supreme Court every year decides cases that cross every different area of law. And that can be things like election law. It's a common topic to come in front of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. The court currently has 2 cases before it on women's reproductive health care.
There's 2 things here. One is what the role the court's supposed to have. The role the court is supposed to have is to simply interpret the law the way it's written, apply it the way it's written, and not legislate from the bench.
Now, combined, both candidates are spending tens of millions of dollars on these kind of TV ads, which brings us to the money part of this equation. Now, this race is on track to be the most expensive judicial race in history. Now, an estimate by WISCPolitics.com from last week shows that nearly $59 million has been spent already in this race. Now, this can have an impact on the candidates running. We spoke with judicial elections expert Douglas Keith about what that means for the judges day to day.
There's a lot of research showing that judges actually change their opinions in an election year. They're harsher in criminal cases. They're more likely to rule against defendants in criminal cases because they don't want to be attacked as soft on crime in their next campaign ad. And I don't think anyone thinks that that's how judges should be making their decision and that someone's freedom or someone's liberties should depend on whether or not it's an election year.
I'm Will Keneally with this reality check.
Along with the Supreme Court, voters will also see a constitutional amendment on the ballot, the race for state superintendent, and various local races and referendums. Stick around, and we will have more over on our website. That's channel3000.com.
No one is in custody this morning for a bomb threat at the Sun Prairie Walmart. Police were called there to the Walmart on McCoy Road just after 4:30 p.m. yesterday. An employee found a note that contained a threat. The store was evacuated. Police say they didn't find any suspicious devices, but they're still asking anyone with information to contact the Sun Prairie Police Department's non-emergency line.
People in Belleville are standing up for people with special needs after controversial comments from a trustee earlier this month. It comes after trustee Maxine Ward questioned letting special education programs continue in Belleville schools. She also singled out 23-year-old Jacob Lloyd, who is a Belleville man with special needs. Though he can't speak about how he feels, his parents are speaking out for him.
I was disappointed for sure. For sure. You know, because it's the village board, you know, you kind of expect that the people who represent your community are going to be, you know, people who are thinking, you know, proactively and constructively. The most important thing to remember about people like Jacob who have profound disabilities is that they're just people and they just want to live a fulfilling life like everybody else.
Jacob's father says trustee Ward should resign despite her apology. Tune in to News 3 Now at 6 tonight for the full story.
We don't know the identity of a Baraboo man killed in a motorcycle crash. Investigators say DelMarcus Burnett crashed the bike on Highway 12 in the town of Roxbury last Friday. The 41-year-old died at the scene from his injuries. It remains under investigation.
Happening today, the Department of Transportation will host a public meeting to discuss the reconstruction of U.S. Highway 51. It comes after evaluating a 5.5-mile section between State Highway 30 and I-39 9094 in the town of Burke. They say it would accommodate higher levels of traffic. The meeting is from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Truex Building at Madison College. You can find more information on our website, channel3000.com.
Public Health Madison-Dane County looking for a dog that bit a person. This happened Sunday evening at the Jenny and Kyle Preserve Park. The dog is described as an unknown breed, scruffy with one ear that flops and the other one stands up. The owner is described as a middle-aged woman who called the dog Leo. She was seen driving a dark blue sedan with a license plate that starts with AWX.
And a new report from a Second Harvest Food Bank and Public Health Madison in Dane County shows more people are food insecure now than before the pandemic. Some of the report's key findings: 1 in 10 people in Dane County are considered food insecure. That includes 1 in 8 children. The 6 largest food pantries reported a 112% increase in visits from 2021 to 2023. Second Harvest had its highest yearly food distribution ever. The USDA defines food security as access at all times to enough food for an active and healthy life. Food insecurity is when access is not sufficient or uncertain for at least one person at some point in a given year.
Well, the Federal Reserve is set to meet today to set interest rates. This comes as many are uncertain about the future of the economy. Experts say it's not too late, for the U.S. to avoid inflation and a potential economic slowdown. Members of the Trump administration declined to predict, though, if the U.S. will go into a recession. President Donald Trump says he'll unveil sweeping new tariffs on April 2nd. He says they'll offer negotiating leverage, protection for some domestic industries, and a response to trade deficits. A new report predicts if U.S. businesses end up paying more tariffs, that would lead to price hikes and a slower U.S. economy. Some experts, though, say the economy is still okay for now.
Overnight, Israel launched new strikes on Gaza. Gaza's health ministry says the death toll is over 400. A senior Hamas official has been killed in the strikes. Israel says it's vowing to keep fighting until Hamas releases all remaining hostages. Hamas says this leaves the fate of the hostages uncertain. Israel resumed attacks after citing a lack of progress in ongoing talks to extend the ceasefire.
Happening today, President Trump will hold a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The two will discuss the war in Ukraine. The president said this week that he wants to try to bring the war to an end. It's the latest move for the president to reorient American foreign policy.
Right now, 2 NASA astronauts stranded in space for more than 9 months are finally on their way home. The SpaceX capsule undocked from the International Space Station overnight. In it, Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore. The pair embarked on a planned 8-day research mission last June. Propulsion issues forced them to stay in orbit. Splashdown is scheduled to happen just off the Florida coast tonight around 6 p.m. local time.
Boy, that's a long time. Extended stay.
Yeah, from 8 days to 9 months, I can't imagine how they were feeling up there. But they survived, and they finally get to come home.
Welcome back.
Well, Savannah, what's coming up?
Well, guys, we're still tracking alert day conditions all of tomorrow. We've got breezy conditions, a storm threat, that including severe weather, and then wet snow. We'll have all the latest coming up.
Plus, our Spirit of Service interview week continues as we learn about our top 5 veterans in the 608.
You're watching News 3 Now this morning. Moving forward.
Hi, my name's Olive Yeager. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. Hey, Savannah, plan my day.
Well, Olive and Madison going to see sunshine later in the day, a little bit of breaks in the clouds. Breezy conditions, though, little warmer than what we had yesterday. We're waking up around 38 degrees. Some of us a little bit cooler than that west and north of Madison, and areas southward waking up to those mid to even lower 40s. Everyone's going to see the upper 50s, lower 60s this afternoon. Because the breezy conditions, winds later in the afternoon and evening still gusting up to about 30 miles per hour. Couple areas 35. Low relative humidity still, and the even warmer temperatures. We still have elevated fire weather risk later today anyways. That really will continue until we see the storms and heavy rain. La Crosse southward, all of this green, that's a low end risk. Ultimately, the best chance of severe weather is south of even Belvedere, Illinois. You see that slight color, that's a yellow, that's a 2 out of 5. There's just a little area that's included in that, kind of across northern Illinois and the Chicagoland area. If we're able to see any stronger storms, I think hail and gusty winds. Gusty winds first and foremost. The secondary threat is going to be hail across southern Wisconsin. Basically, as we get closer to daybreak tomorrow, increasing shower activity. By mid to late morning, some of those storms are going to start to increase. The greatest chance of severe weather, that's going to be during this time frame, afternoon into the early evening. We could see some heavy rainfall rates as well. After that, breezy conditions, winds continue to increase. Late in the evening and the overnight hours, we'll see that rapid change from the heavy rain and storm threat all over to snow for southern Wisconsin. We could have winds topping out at about 50 miles per hour. That's our gusts anyways. And travel impacts. That's going to be moderate to even high, especially the further northwest you go in comparison to Madison. That will continue into daybreak Thursday, at least the slick travel, low visibilities, and blowing snow. We're not going to still see snow at that point in time. Early Thursday morning, that's when the snow is going to end. There are blizzard warnings in place for southern Minnesota and also Iowa, but anything up kind of near the Black River Falls and La Crosse area, that's a winter storm watch. We don't have anything across the Madison area. That's where bigger impacts are going to be, and heavier snowfall rates and just higher accumulations in general. I think we're looking at 1 to 2 inches for the Madison area. Up near the Dells, 2 to 5 inches. Where that winter storm watch is in place, 4 to 9 inches. The closer to Janesville and south of the border that you get, that's only going to be about an inch. A localized 1 inch amount cannot be ruled out, but really going to see the biggest impacts northwest of Madison. And then as far as temperatures go, we're really going to warm up. 41 Thursday, and then the 50s return for Friday. So anything that we do see as far as snow goes, not going to last long.
That, in my opinion, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I know you might want to see it a little longer.
No, we didn't get enough when it mattered.
Yeah.
Well, we can try. There's always next year.
Yeah.
There's always next year. We can try again next winter. There we go.
Savannah, thanks. You want Savannah to plan today? She'd love to. Just record a video like you saw earlier, share your name, where you're at, and then send it our way through the website, the First Warn Weather app, Facebook Messenger, or email, and then watch to see if you make it on the air.
It is 6:46 this morning. In the 6:08, we're meeting the finalists for Spirit of Service all this week. I invited each of our top 5 finalists to do a live interview with me here on News 3 Now, and today we're meeting Matthias Carter. Matthias, thanks for joining us on News 3 Now. Congratulations on being named a finalist.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Josh, and everyone watching. Before we go into it, I just want to say thank you to News 3 Now and Vortex on doing this. What an amazing way to honor veterans.
Well, hey, you know, we have to do it because of what you guys are doing in our community for Spirit of Service. So take us back a little bit. You know, where did your service all begin?
I joined actually a month before 9/11 happened. So I went in just because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then that quickly changed. Yeah.
So now all these years later, you're focusing on giving back to the community, specifically with nonprofit work, but you're also a children's author. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I wrote a book because I had a huge panic attack with my son on my shoulders when I was at a sporting event, and I had to figure out a way to tell him what I was going through in a way that was palatable to him. So I made a book just for him, but after some people saw it, they really wanted me to put it out for everybody else. And the responses I've been getting back have been amazing, how people have been able to speak to their loved ones about the trauma they've gone through.
What has your mission been since serving our country and moving forward right now?
I would say the biggest thing is finding that purpose. One thing when you're getting out of the service is they don't They don't tell you that one day you have this purpose and drive and passion, and the next there's literally nothing. So it took me a very long time to find that passion again, and I found it. I found that purpose and passion in my work, helping veterans and their families, finding mental health help, as well as my personal life with the VFW and the things that I'm doing with veterans and their families in the community as well.
So when you found out you were a finalist for Spirit of Service, what went through your head?
I mean, obviously incredibly honored and truly humbled to be nominated. Like a lot of us, I'm sure all of us are going to say the same thing. It's, we don't do it for accolades. We do it because it feels good. And, I do it because I don't want others to have to go through the challenges that I went through before I reached out for help. And then my biggest thing is, ever since my son was 3, when someone says, "What does your daddy do?" He says, "Help people." And I do it for that. He's my motivator for sure.
I love that. All right, so if you were to win Spirit of Service and take home that $5,000, what would you do with it?
One thing that we did in my community is all the organizations came together, the VFW, American Legion, some nonprofits like Road Home Program and Veterans Path to Hope. And we have something that we call the Veterans Alliance, and we do group activities together. We do it around video games, board games, things like that, food, obviously, to get people together. And all of that is free to the public. And we try to get the public to come in and see what veterans are actually about. And then we also bring resources to these events. So everybody is at a calm, relaxed state. And then they will see all the different things that are to offer for mental health and physical health and just supporting each other. Those, really having that camaraderie that we missed from the military.
I love it. Well, Matthias, thank you so much. And congratulations again, and good luck, sir.
Thank you very much.
Guys, over to you.
Thanks, Josh. Josh is always looking for inspirational stories to share in the 608. Reach out on social media for a chance to be featured.
Coming up in the morning sprint, the soda that just sold for billions of dollars.
And we wish a happy birthday to Thomas, who turned 3 yesterday. If you got a little kiddo turning 3, send us a picture. We'll show it on TV. The sprint's next. 6:54, time for the morning sprint.
In-person absentee voting begins for the April 1st election. Nationally, eyes are on the Supreme Court race as it will determine the balance of the court. It's slated to be one of the most expensive judicial races in history. Voters will also see state superintendent and a constitutional amendment on their ballot. The amendment asks if voters want to enshrine a voter ID requirement in the state's constitution.
No one is in custody this morning for a bomb threat at the Sun Prairie Walmart. Police were called there to McCoy Road just after 4:30 yesterday evening. An employee found a note that contained a threat. The store was evacuated. Police say they didn't find any suspicious devices, though. They're asking if you have any information to call the Sun Prairie Police Department's non-emergency line.
The parents of 2 boys who died after falling into a retention pond are suing the city of Sun Prairie and several entities. The parents are suing for personal injury. Their 6- and 8-year-old sons fell through the ice last January. Both children passed away days later. The city will not comment on the lawsuit because it's pending.
Overnight, Israel launching new strikes on Gaza. Gaza's health minister says the death toll is now over 400. Killed in the strikes, a senior Hamas official. Israel says it's vowing to keep fighting until Hamas releases all remaining hostages. Israel resumed attacks after citing a lack of progress in ongoing ceasefire talks.
A federal judge has given the Trump administration a noon deadline to explain why it deported more than 250 migrants when it was ordered to temporarily stop. The migrants are now in a notorious El Salvador prison. El Salvador's president posted a video on social media over the weekend.
Pepsi's buying a popular prebiotic soda brand, jumping on the trend of healthier sodas. It's a deal worth $1.6 billion for Poppi. Poppi's become increasingly popular since they appeared on Shark Tank in 2018. Forever 21 winding down its U.S. businesses after filing for bankruptcy for a second time. The 40-plus-year-old clothing retailer is offering deep discounts on its website and at some store locations. The company says both online and some stores will stay open for some time. Stores outside the U.S. are not expected to be impacted.
Enjoy the quiet conditions we're going to have. It'll still be breezy this afternoon, but at least we're forecasting a high of 61. That's all ahead of the alert day for severe weather, snow, and winds that could gust up to 50 miles per hour. So tomorrow is not going to be a good day. If anyone has outdoor plans, maybe reschedule those, push them off to the end of the work week because conditions will be a little bit more quiet.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Savannah, thank you.
We're back in 30 minutes with the news and weather update.